Sometime in September 2025 in China, over 1,000 accounts were either suspended or closed, all of them talking about the same thing: a famous Chinese actor who fell from a building in Beijing. His name was Menglong, and questions about how he died were swept away by rapid platform removals and official statements. Within days, much online discussion about him vanished. The Speed of the Scrub told a story about what thousands of young, ambitious entertainers walk into when they sign their first contracts, about the systems of control and manipulations they never see coming. Yu isn't the first artist to die under pressure in the Asian entertainment industry, and probably won't be the last if structural forces remain unchanged. This video isn't just about one actor's death. It's about bad contracts, PR machines, censorships, and an industry that can silence the questions we try to ask. What was Menglong's crime? Or better question, what are they trying to hide about him? Thanks for clicking on this video, and please like, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Also, drop a comment sharing where you're watching from. Let's see which country has the most viewers. Menglong was just 37 years old when he allegedly fell from a building in Beijing. The official report came quickly. Too quickly, some would say. Accidental death due to intoxication, authorities said. Case closed. But his mother refused to accept the silence that followed. In some reported as claimed by some accounts, a letter that circulated on social media, she wrote that her son's death was not an accident, that someone deliberately intended to harm him. Within days, more than 100,000 pieces of content about Menglong were removed from Chinese platforms, and more than 1,000 accounts were suspended or closed, according to platform notices and reporting about the crackdown on discussion. The Speed of the Erasure told its own story about what happens when questions become too loud in China's entertainment industry. But this isn't just about one actor's death on September 11th, 2025. This is about what Menglong walked into when he signed his first contract. What countless young artists sign away before they understand the machinery of control they're entering. This is about the hidden systems that shaped his career, his choices, and ultimately, the circumstances surrounding his final moments. Let's go back to the beginning. Menglong was born on June 15, 1988, in China during a time of rapid economic transformation. Like many young people drawn to entertainment, he dreamed of performance and recognition. He studied, he trained, and he worked his way through the ranks until he secured roles in Chinese television and film. By the standards of the industry, he was succeeding. He had visibility, fans, and a growing reputation. What he didn't have was control. Because in the Chinese entertainment industry, success doesn't always belong to the artist. It often belongs to the system that created them, the agencies that train them, the contracts that bind them, and the censorship apparatus that can decide what stories get told and which ones remain classified. When Menglong signed his first contract, he likely believed he was signing an opportunity. What many artists actually sign is a transfer of power. From that moment forward, management can control schedules, image, relationships, and public statements. This is how the industry operates for thousands of artists across China and other East Asian markets. The foundation of control often begins with the contracts that artists sign when they're young, hungry for success, and willing to accept terms they don't fully understand. These contracts commonly span many years. During this period, management agencies often have the power to influence nearly every aspect of an artist's public life. They can decide which projects to accept, what interviews to grant, what to say in public, and what must never be mentioned. Artists may live in company dormitories, where routines are tightly scheduled. Their diets and fitness regimens are managed. Their relationships can be expected to follow agency rules. Their social media posts are reviewed before publication. If they gain weight, they may face penalties. If they date without permission, they can face career consequences. If they speak publicly about their mental health struggles, they risk stigma or being labeled difficult. These patterns have been documented across entertainment markets in the region. This level of control mirrors patterns seen across the East Asian entertainment industries, particularly in South Korea, where the trainee and agency system has been widely reported. But China adds another layer, because artists operate under both corporate control and an environment of political and regulatory oversight. The fan economy in China has grown massive, generating billions of dollars annually. But this economy often feeds on manufactured perfection. Fans are encouraged to spend on voting for favorite contestants on survival shows, buying sponsored products, streaming songs to boost charts, and purchasing multiple copies of albums. The pressure on artists to maintain their popularity is relentless because agencies profit directly from fan spending. Reporting on the fan economy and regulator responses in recent years shows how the business model and the political reaction to it can both shape artists' careers. Between 2018 and 2021, China experienced an explosion of idol survival shows modeled on similar Korean formats. Programs attracted hundreds of trainees competing for public debut spots. Regulators later criticized some fan-driven spending and what they described as money worship and hedonism in youth culture. They worried about young girls manipulated into becoming reckless and the social media chaos generated by competing fan groups. By mid-2021, authorities began imposing restrictions that changed the calculus for those shows and related markets. But behind the bright lights and enthusiastic crowds, a darker reality was growing. The government condemned some programs and behaviors and moved to limit abuses connected to fan spending and platform manipulation. For artists trapped in such systems, the rules kept changing. What was acceptable one year could become forbidden the next. Career paths that seemed stable suddenly disappeared. In December 2017, Kim Jong-hyun of the Korean group SHINee died by suicide at age 27. He wrote about depression and the emotional weight of fame in private messages that surfaced after his death. 2 years later, in October 2019, Sulli of the Korean group FFX was found dead. She had been targeted by relentless online abuse for years and had spoken publicly about her mental health struggles. A close friend, Goo Hara, died by suicide weeks after Sulli, which intensified the region-wide conversation about online cruelty and industry pressure. These deaths sparked serious conversations about mental health, cyberbullying, and exploitation across Asia. Despite outcry, petitions, and some regulatory responses, structural pressures persisted. Artists still sign long contracts. They still face grueling schedules and intense fan expectations. Agencies often prioritize profit over artists' well-being, and censorship systems can remove or suppress content in ways that make public accountability difficult. The contracts themselves deserve closer examination because they represent the legal foundation of this control. In 2009, 3 members of the Korean group TVXQ challenged a long contract with their management company, and South Korea's regulatory responses eventually led to limitations on excessively long contracts. The Korean example helped push industry debates about fairness in artist contracts, and other markets have had similar controversies. Beyond length, contract terms often require artists to pay back training costs that can be very large. Artists may be required to reimburse agencies for singing lessons, dance training, housing, food, wardrobe, and promotion. Until these debts are cleared, artists can receive little or none of the profit from their work. Some contracts include clauses that extend terms in specific circumstances or restrict future employment via non-compete provisions. In China, the practice called yin-yang contracts, split contracts used to underreport income for tax avoidance, has been widely reported and became a national scandal after the Fan Bingbing case in 2018. That case involved heavy fines and public scrutiny, and it signaled both tax enforcement and a broader willingness by regulators to tackle certain industry excesses. This brings us back to Menglong and the questions surrounding his death. The assumptions made by his fans that someone deliberately harmed him have been reported in some outlets as alleged claims, but those claims remain contested and not independently proven in open-source records. We cannot know with absolute certainty what happened in those final moments from public sources alone. But we can examine the context in which his death occurred, an environment where artists operate under layers of contractual control, where mental health discussions carry stigma, where speaking out can have consequences, and where powerful interests can shape narratives. We can also recognize patterns. Some deaths in Asian entertainment were clearly suicides documented in personal notes and family statements. Others remain ambiguous, leaving families with grief and questions. What connects many of these tragedies is the systemic stress of an industry that treats people as commodities, the financial structures that keep artists dependent, and the online cultures that can be vicious. Let's look at how artists are treated from the very beginning of their careers. Aspiring entertainers often sign with agencies as teenagers. They become trainees and enter rigorous training that can last multiple years before debut. During this time, they often live in company dormitories under intense schedules. Their days can be structured by hours of dance practice, vocal lessons, language and media training, fitness regimens, and image coaching. Many trainees never debut. After years of work, agencies sometimes decide certain individuals are not marketable. These young people then find themselves confused and depressed after enduring years of rigorous education and losing out on experiencing normal adolescence in pursuit of a dream that agencies decided was not profitable enough. For those who debut, pressures intensify. They must maintain a spotless public persona while navigating their fan base, the media, their sponsors, and government regulators. Male artists may confront mandatory service obligations, while female artists often face ruthless scrutiny about their appearance, dating life, and public behavior. Online platforms can amplify abuse. Studios and agencies vary widely in the mental health support they offer. Stigma and fear of damaged careers can discourage artists from seeking help. The structure of the Chinese entertainment industry specifically adds political and regulatory complications. Content passes through layers of review. Scripts can be examined before production. Finished projects can face additional review or removal. Artists must weigh associations carefully. Working with someone who later falls into political disfavor can affect their career. International activities may require approvals. Certain topics are effectively off-limits. Expressing views that seem to challenge official narratives can jeopardize opportunities. The government's crackdown on some facets of the idol economy in 2021 showed how rapidly the rules can change. Programs that had been profitable were curtailed. Companies lost investment. Recently debuted artists found opportunities constricted through regulatory changes outside their control. That unpredictability creates anxiety. Success today does not guarantee stability tomorrow. For young artists signing their first contracts, this context may be invisible. They see success stories, fame, wealth, adoration. They don't necessarily see the contractual obligations, the mental health risks, or the political minefields. They may not appreciate how much their agency controls their careers and messaging. If you believe artists deserve protection from exploitative practices, take a moment to drop your views in the comments below. Exploitation does not always look like an overt abuse. Oftentimes, it is normalized as a necessary sacrifice. You want to be successful? This is what it takes. That normalization allows extreme working conditions, restrictive contracts, and invasive management to persist. Senior artists sometimes defend the system because they endured it and see it as a rite of passage. "I survived this. You can too," they say. That attitude perpetuates cycles where each generation bows to harmful practices instead of questioning the system. Strict and unfriendly financial structures keep artists dependent. Requiring payback for training, controlling income streams, and imposing legal costs for disputes ensures many artists remain tethered to agencies. Legal battles are long and expensive. Agencies often have more resources and legal teams. Even when artists win disputes, informal blacklisting can follow. Opportunities dry up because agencies and producers prefer to avoid risk. This power imbalance keeps most artists silent, even when they are struggling. They endure grueling schedules, invasive oversight, and harmful conditions because speaking up feels too risky. If you believe contracts shouldn't own lives, consider what real reform would require. Meaningful reform would include legal limits on contract length and terms, similar to the measures adopted after long contract disputes elsewhere. mandatory transparency in financial arrangements, protection against punitive extensions, and clearer, accessible legal remedies. It would also require cultural shifts, better mental health support, acceptance that artists are human, and fan cultures that respect artists' autonomy. Government regulation could protect artists from agency abuses, but in China, that same regulation can increase political control over content and careers. Finding balance is complicated in a system where state oversight is itself a primary factor. Fan culture would need to evolve away from toxic behaviors like cyberbullying, stalking, and toxic entitlement. Parasocial relationships should not become instruments for controlling artists' private lives. Supporting artists' autonomy, even when it conflicts with fan desires, is part of that change. None of this is easy. The current system is profitable for those who benefit. Agencies, platforms, advertisers, and other stakeholders have incentives to maintain a system that extracts value from artists. That means change would be difficult and slow unless pressure for transparency and protection increases. Menglong's story doesn't end with neat answers. We may never fully know every detail of his final moments from public sources. The truth has been shuffled between official statements, rapid removals of online discussion, and competing narratives. This erasure of discussion is itself a signal. In systems where certain discussions are quickly suppressed, questions go unanswered, and grief is sometimes managed through official channels rather than public inquiry. People naturally ask whose interests are being protected. The artists who have died, Zhongyun, Sulli, Goo Hara, and others, were people with their own unique struggles. Their deaths should not be reduced to one single cause. Harmful patterns such as chronic pressures, lack of mental health support, harsh financial structures that limit artists, online harassment, invasive management, and censorships all create vulnerability. These patterns are kept standing by wealthy organizations, laws, policies, and harmful cultures. They persist because people in power profit, or because the legal and political infrastructure tolerates them. If you believe truth matters more than control, like and subscribe to help this video reach more people, and keep asking authorities those hard questions, because silence protects evil and corruption. Before making promising decisions as an artist, please ask yourself some questions like, what does it mean when success requires surrendering control over your life? When fame will eventually cost you your mental health, privacy, relationships, and sometimes life itself, is it still a worthy course to chase? What does it reveal about society when we demand perfection from public figures, but offer little meaningful support when they struggle? What does it mean when deaths that should prompt thorough inquiry instead result in swift online suppression? Menglong was 37 years old. He will never answer those questions himself. But those of us who remain can honor his memory by refusing to look away, by pushing for artists to have rights and protections, by supporting changes that protect rather than control, by recognizing that art should not require human sacrifice. The Chinese entertainment industry, like counterparts around the world, can change if the cost of maintaining harmful systems becomes higher than reform. When enough people demand transparency, when enough artists find support and platforms to speak, when enough tragedies force structural reform. Until then, young people will keep signing contracts they do not fully understand. They'll keep entering systems designed to extract maximum value while offering minimum protection, and some will not survive. Menglong's death leaves grief, questions, and a choice. We can accept the official narrative, allow the censorship to quiet the debate, and move on. Or we can sit with uncertainty and acknowledge what we know about the systems that shaped his career and life. We can demand better, not only for Menglong, though he deserved better. Our voices will help secure every young person who dreams of making it big in entertainment, but risks exploitation. Every trainee living in a dormitory under the pressure of endless practice. Every established artist who hides their struggles because speaking up feels too dangerous. Like, subscribe, share this video, and comment justice for Menglong. If you believe young artists deserve freedom to create, to struggle, to speak, to fail, to succeed, and ultimately to live on their own terms, rather than as products manufactured and controlled by other people. His life mattered. His death matters. And the system that failed him continues to operate, continues to sign new contracts, and continues to promise fantastic dreams while obscuring the price. That's the hidden truth Menglong never fully understood when he signed his first contract. That's the truth we must confront and spread if anything is to change.
I want to thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you're going to love what's coming next. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for instant updates on our latest videos. See you in the next one.